put so much pressure on ourselves to be like, I got to write a song today and I've got to get my recordings figured out today and I've got to have everything aligned. No, you don't.
Welcome back to the All In Podcast. I'm Rick Jordan. What's shaking? Amy Gerhartz. Did I pronounce your last name right?
You did, yes.
Whoa,
Gerhartz.
that's great.
I know nobody ever gets it right, but I'm proud of you.
I typically do, but then there's some that throw me. But you are. I usually ask because we always have pre-show conversation, and I usually ask, but I didn't ask today. So first tip of the show: if you're doing a podcast, always ask your guests how to pronounce their name before you start. I got lucky today.
Got it.
That's fun. So what's really cool is that you're a musician.
I am,
and you have 6 albums.
I have done 6 projects. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Are they EPs, full-length albums? What do you got?
I've got a combination of all or both of those. I have now I've got to go back and think. I have 3 full-length projects and 3 EPs.
Awesome. What was your favorite one?
Oh, that's hard. That's asking a parent to pick their favorite child. I would say the 2 newest ones definitely feel like my authentic voice. They definitely feel like the message I want to get across and feel the most, what's the word I'm looking for? They're my favorite. I'm just say that. I started a transition from earlier years and of growth and moving into pop music, and those really solidify the sound.
That's fantastic. It's awesome. Great because when you start anything creative, I've been in music for many years too. I've recorded on collaboration projects, just as like a contributing artist, but I've never had my own albums or EPs. I just never went that way. But, even thinking back to podcasting now, whenever you start a project or even business or whatever, a relationship, you never really have it come into its own right away. I remember back to my first TV appearances and I look at those now and it's like, wow, I really sucked.
I don't like to use the word suck. I just like to say, oh, I've really grown over the years.
That's a better perspective. I like that. And I fully agree with you. Yeah. Maybe we're all too hard on our own selves, but
definitely.
You look back at that and it's like, you know what, when you start something, you never want to start it and try to have it in this perfect state because you're going to grow through the process, especially when it's something creative and you sort of come into your own voice along the way. That's another thing that I've noticed. Where was that shift? Because you said your last 2 albums, where was that shift for you to where you're like, wow, I feel like I'm really in the groove now?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, that shift came from something internal, really. About 5 years ago. Oh gosh, what year are we in now? I feel like the last year has been just a big blur. 2015, I moved to Nashville, and I'd been performing my whole life. I'd been writing music ever since I was a child. I'd been doing a lot of theater and music. And then, but a lot of things, there's something that a lot of people didn't know about me behind the scenes. I actually lacked a ton of confidence in myself. And I didn't have a good, healthy relationship with who I was. Going back to us being so hard on ourselves, I used to beat myself up all the time and say that I was fat or ugly or I sounded terrible or whatever these things were. And mind you, of course I didn't. I was none of those things, but in my head, I thought I was. So I made a conscious decision at that point to shift how I showed up for myself. I started doing a lot of very hard work on me and developing a healthy relationship with me. And the more authentic I became with myself, the more authentic my music became. And that's why I think these last 2 albums have grown so much for me because I've grown as a person and it translates into my music.
It's interesting trying to find your voice in those scenarios too, isn't it? Because you said you really came into your own, and when you became more honest with yourself and true to yourself, that's where your projects really started to accelerate.
Yeah.
Was it kind of like peeling back layers? Is that?
Yes, there were. I will say it's whenever you start your journey of self-love and self-discovery, there is no end point to it. It's a constant peeling of layers and a constant discovery. I mean, even now, 5 years later, I'm discovering more things about myself that I didn't know were either possible or that they existed, or I still had some unresolved issues or whatever it is. But that's being human. That's growth. But yeah, there were a lot of internal fights, I would say, along the way with myself. on the journey.
No
Because,
joke. Yeah.
yeah, you get so close or so used to being one way, and then trying to change that. It's not an overnight thing. So
What,
yeah, there's many layers.
for sure. What were one of those two experiences that you had on that journey of life that really, really influenced like your entire perception?
I think I had to let go. There were a couple things. I had to let go of any expectations I had put on myself, and expectations that other people had put on me too, and especially also in terms of my music career and my art. I spent so much time, trying to mold and be like, oh, I should sound like this person, or I should create like this person, or I should do my photos like this or that, and none of it was authentic to me because I had never really taken the time to sit down and figure out what I liked and who I was and all this stuff. So letting go of those expectations was huge. That was a big one. The second thing too was at least from a perspective, was stop trying to reach a goal. Like that was one for me of like, I have goals, I have things that I want to do, but whether or not I actually reach that goal is not the measure of success. The measure of success for me is the journey that I'm on. It's the one step at a time. It's getting up out of bed every day. It's creating something new. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You just pivot and go in another direction. But I think the minute I stopped saying, okay, I'm going to be successful when I win a Grammy, or I'm going to be successful when I, have gotten married and had kids and bought a house and all those things that we put this pressure on ourselves to achieve. Those were the two growing points for me, or two major growing points of many, many growing points, but that really helped me to kind of release and let go and allow myself to grow and allow myself to discover life and discover music and rediscover music, I should say, and become who I am.
That's cool. I know in the creative
Thanks.
realm too, even with I just had a film that came out a little bit ago,
Mm.
Liberty Lockdown. Yeah. And the director who invited me in as the executive producer, I hosted it too. But there's all these tweaks after the fact that he was looking to make, and it's great because it's hosted on Vimeo and you can update it even on Amazon. When it's hosted up there, you can still change the final product. And there was a point in that to where I just said, to what you're saying, I'm like, dude, the production has to stop at some point. And I
Yes.
get it from the creative side because that goal that you're talking about, especially in the creative, can kind of be a bit of a moving target. And it
Hmm.
can almost get very discouraging in ways. And this is with a lot of things in life too. It can get very discouraging when you set a goal and all of a sudden that goal might morph and you think that you failed. When
Yeah.
really it's more like you evolved and you grew. And now you realize what you thought you wanted, maybe even just a year ago, 6 months ago, is not really the direction that you should take your life, or that life is actually pushing you in.
Hmm.
And I love that because I create things around myself to where it's like life almost like pushes me through it. And I
Oh yeah.
intentionally throw myself into situations that are uncomfortable or that cause me to rise to the top, that are challenging, because it could even change my goal. It actually helps me validate, is this even the right goal or not?
Yeah.
Is this the right target? So I can imagine even with your album, you probably listen back, or any of your albums, you probably listen back and be like, oh, I wish I would have, maybe sang a different harmony here. I wish I would have changed the chord
Yeah.
progression, hit a minor or something right here.
I don't think, yeah, that's funny that you say that, because that actually happens, I think, to everyone who's creative, regardless of if you're creating music or art or film or anything. You will always find something that you could have done. Like you will drive yourself crazy constantly finding things that you could have redone. I will say, and the two newer albums, Fire and the Hold On EP that just came out. Well, I say just, it came out last year. They both, I don't really find anything wrong with them the way I do albums from 10 years ago,
Yeah.
because I'm just a different person now. So the essence of the albums I'm in right now, or the projects that I've done recently, are who I am now. But I guarantee in 10 years, I'll probably look back at these and be like, oh, we should have done that. Or maybe we could have done that. And I think the lesson there is to just let it go. Like you said, you've got, at some point, you just have to put out a product and stop overthinking it, and then create the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing.
When you take a look back at these last two albums, is it that you made less mistakes, or is it more so that you really know yourself better now?
It's the latter. I really know myself a lot better, and therefore I can stand behind the music that I'm putting out. And it's not, I have to be careful how I say that, because it's not that I didn't stand behind the music I put out before. I really enjoyed the music that I put out before. But now I've got a clear direction and vision, mainly because, we talked about, I discovered who I am, but I also discovered my why behind the music I'm creating as well. And that was that I should have used that as one of my two, my two main answers. I was like, the discovery of the why, and there's so many great books and speakers out there that talk about how you can find your why. And that's it becomes a passion for you. It becomes something where now my music for a long time was just about me. It was very personal, and not to say that my music isn't personal anymore. All of the songs stem from personal experiences or, from a personal place. But I've realized that my job is just to create the music. I create it for other people now. I create it to help heal and to reach and, to connect with other people. And that shift too has made it so much easier to be authentic with what I'm putting out in the world.
That's awesome. You're a mindset coach also.
And I am.
Yeah,
yes. I just launched my business. I'm so happy.
That's awesome. I think it's a great fit for you, just because where you've been and where you are now. It's cool to see. There's a book that I just read in this past month called Mindset. I can't remember the author, but it's Barb something. I don't know. I shouldn't say I read it. I listened to it because I read my books on Audible. Me
too. I love Audible.
It allows me to consume so much more. It does, because I used to joke around and people are like, oh, do you read? Because that's the question. It's never what do you read? It's well, do you read? And I would always say, no, I don't. And people that knew me really, really well would be like, you read all the time. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I don't really, you don't read books. You read articles. You read things online, blogs and everything else. That's how you consume your information. But when Audible came around, I was like, holy crap, this is great. Because it was a different way. It was more so it wasn't like attention deficit or anything like that, but it was just, I could never find myself because I thought that it was almost like a waste of time when I could be doing something else. So with listening to it, most of the time I quote unquote read my books now while I'm working out. And it's something that I can spend you too?
That's what I do. I was literally just about to cut you off. I'm so sorry. I just started, I do walks every morning and I put a book on tape in when I wake up in the morning. And sometimes I'll listen to music, but it's the best to work out and listen to a book, or driving, long drives for touring and things like that, of course.
It's fantastic. Then you can just use your time a whole lot better too. There's some things where you can, books also will get my mind going, which is fantastic. That's great. But if I sit down for a book, this is bad too, because I've seen science on this, where if you sit down and read before you go to bed, like right before you go to bed, you tend to be able to comprehend and let a lot more sit in to your spirit, to your soul. Yeah. It helps everything sink in better. But I don't know why that is. And I've tried that and I agree with it. But at the same time, it's been more difficult for me to fall asleep when I read later at night, because then all of a sudden my mind starts going, oh, well, I can do this tomorrow. Why isn't it morning yet? I could get started on this right now, So, so it's actually a little bit of reining myself in too. When I can say, I'm going to listen to my books while I'm working out. And then that's in the morning. And then I won't keep myself up at night either.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But your typical clients, do you help entertainment professionals?
I do. So I will mindset coach anybody. But the main direction I'm heading in, and the couple clients that I have right now are all in the entertainment industry. People, whether you're an actor or a comedian or singer-songwriter, writer, anything in entertainment, mainly because I feel like it's a whole area of business where there's a lot of education on how to learn your instrument, how to book shows, how to, create an album, how to do, there's a lot of how-tos, but not many people talk about the emotional side of being an artist and being a creative. And a lot of the ups and downs that happen mentally in that field, as well as, just the fact that we as artists and creatives, we have got really good days and we have some really bad days. And being able to balance that and juggle both of those and find healthy ways to handle being in the entertainment industry without exploding or imploding and then quitting altogether. So I wanted to be the voice to help people who really struggled mentally and really struggled with their mindset, really struggled with, going back to their why, like who are they as an artist? Why do they want to be in in entertainment, and how can I help them find and discover what their voice is, so that they can actually have a clear plan, or create a clear plan to move forward with their careers.
What do you typically get, when you ask that question? Because you always think, some people will seek after, the Hollywood style fame or the Nashville style fame if you're in country music, and say, that's what I want to do. I just want to be famous, and I see that when I speak with people in those realms a lot, is that that's just what they wanted to do. They saw somebody else up on the stage and like, you know what, I want to be in the spotlight. And there's not necessarily something completely wrong with that, but it's only like a portion of it, from what I've seen as far as being fulfilled, because it still leaves like a freaking big gaping hole in your life. That's great. You're an extrovert. You want to be on stage, because I love it. I love being on stage. I love being in the spotlight. I love having my own show. I love speaking places, at Harvard. That was a rush when I was there. I love going to all these places and having thousands of people listen to me because I genuinely feel like I can help them. And there's a rush from being on stage too. There's so much, especially when you're performing. Oh my gosh, when you have a crowd singing back to you, come on now. And when they can take the song on for you and you can just stop singing and you just feel that energy coming back at you. Is there anything else like that? Come on.
Nope. It is one of the most amazing feelings in the world. And I think when I was younger, and I'm going to say two things here. I was that person that wanted to be famous. I wanted to be on MTV, when they played music. I wanted to be I wanted to win the Grammy, and I wanted to do these huge stadium tours. And for me, when I sang when I was younger, that feeling that you get on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people, or even if it's 20, 30 people that are loving your songs and singing them, it's amazing. But at that point in my life, it was almost kind of selfish too, in a little bit of a way, because I was like, oh, people love me, versus now. I tell people when I coach them and they say, I want to be famous, I want to say, first, we define what fame means to them. What does success mean to you? And then I try to teach them that there is nothing wrong with wanting to be successful, but you need to also want to be happy. Like that has to be your goal with your art. You have to find the happiness with what you're doing. And I know this from my own personal experiences, because if you're not happy every day when you're writing and playing songs and you're on the stage and you're on a 5-month tour and you're sleeping in crappy hotels and whatever that is, if you're not happy with what you're doing, you will burn out and you will step away, and you won't be able to create the things that you need to create to push out into the world to help other people. So I try to redirect that. Definitely aim for the success. Definitely aim for the fame. I think that's wonderful. But yeah, like you said, it's a slippery slope, and you got to really know what it is and like why you're there. And if that fame doesn't come, you're still going to have your happiness.
I love that. My brain is going place, and I got the questions. Here we go. Just going to throw those out the window. All right, here we go. So, you're a mindset coach, obviously, and you said you'll mindset coach anybody. But I know this, being a fellow musician, is that almost a lot of things that I have to do, I almost have to incorporate music into it, no matter what. I mean, even when I speak places, I'm like, you know what? Here's my theme music for my podcast. Can you just like play this before I walk up on stage? I need some ramp music, okay? Just to fire me up too, because music creates an atmosphere, and even on the show, this is great because my production team, we do most of the editing and post-production, adding the music and everything like that. But the last couple of batches that I've done, I'm like, you know what? It would really help me, and I think help my guests too, if we could just hear the intro music right before we kick into this thing, because it gets us fired up. It like sets you and I up mentally. So yeah. So how do you, because you coach a lot of people in entertainment, obviously, but even outside of entertainment, how do you incorporate music still? Because that's a big part of you. How do you incorporate music into your coaching?
Absolutely. I that's a great question. And I'm just like you. Music is so powerful. With music, I teach people to be aware of what they're consuming, whether it's music or television or books or I don't know what TV shows, or I just said television, movies. I teach them to be aware of what they're consuming and how that makes them feel. So if you're someone now, and there's all different types of music, you being a musician as well, there's a ton of different styles out there. And I'm not going to be someone that says, oh, I love all types of music. I personally don't love all types of music. There's some songs that I don't relate to. I am not a big heavy metal person. I respect it. I see it. I love it. But I don't hear a heavy metal song unless I'm taking a boxing class or something where I feel like I need to get aggressive with something. Then I probably won't really listen to it. So I tell my clients to find the music in their lives that inspires them, that gets them excited, that gives them the feeling that they are able to do the work that they need to do. It really, that will calm and center them to get them to a place. So I always try to tell them, whatever that style of music is for you, it might be classical music, it might be rock, it might be reggae, it might be, hip hop, whatever it is for you that you can relate to. And also pay attention to the lyrical content behind it as well, because we subconsciously, the words that we hear and they speak play a huge role on what we are, the way we act and the way we show up. And so you might love an amazing rock song, but it might have some really negative lyrics to it. So try to find the music that is sending a positive message or sending something inspirational or sending something into your life. Like, you got this. Like, all right, I'm going to, do the work. I'm going to put my time in. I'm going to get focused. I'm going to have energy. I'm unstoppable. Like all of those things. Find that style of music to listen to, or find any style that has that type of content to listen to.
I'm going to do the work and put the time in. There's a new band that I discovered. It's only because the director put one of their songs in the film, Willie Echo. They're independent.
Oh, nice.
They only do, but listen to it. One of my new favorite songs ever is called Everything or Nothing at All by Willie Echo. And you've got to check it out. And when you're talking to it starts out, it's like, I'll put in the work that you won't. It's pretty awesome, because it's talking about being an underdog, but rising to the top. But that's the thing, because you can have a great beat, you can have a fantastic chord progression, and you can be moved by music. Obviously, hello, classical. Right? There's no lyrics, there's no lyrical content.
Exactly.
But there is some angry classical music that exists too. That'll get you all like knotted up inside when you're listening to this stuff. But you're right, lyrics add a completely different component, because you could hear like a great beat, you could hear a fantastic chord progression that just really moves you. And then when the guy comes on or the girl comes on, and all of a sudden they're talking about just crazy stuff that's going to put you down. Why are you listening to that? Who cares about the musical content at that point? The lyrics are they're going to drive you down to the ground. So it's both though. But yeah, I mean, I do like all genres. Me personally, I do like all genres, and it depends on the mood that I'm in, or like you said, what I need to get done. Around the office, we've got Sonos speakers all over the place in our office and in the studios, and we will play multiple different things all the time. And it just depends on what we kind of collectively need to get done in the place too. But usually it's something upbeat. Usually it's something positive. There's one dude around here that doesn't like Imagine Dragons. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, they sing kind of angry. And I'm like, I know, right? Yep. I'm not going to call out who that is.
It's positive angry.
Yes, exactly. It pushes you in the right direction still. Yes. Come on. Who cares?
It's so funny.
But Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons. That's another fantastic song that really resonates with me. Yep. Man, this is such a fun conversation.
So funny. Yeah.
Amy, you're awesome.
I think that's thanks. I think it's really important to pay attention. And I'm not saying too, like, look, there are going to be times where we're going to have things that come into our lives that are definitely going to disrupt everything. Use music as a tool. If you need to cry, put on some sad music and cry, flush it out of your system, then put the positive music on and get back to work. It's like, we take the time you need to process. All different types of music are suitable. But if you're in a generally okay state and you're listening to sad stuff every day, you're probably going to stay in that sad state. And if you're like, if you're listening to angry stuff all the time, it's probably going to make you angry. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's just like, hey, maybe if I hang out with people that are happy all the time, maybe I'll actually be happy too.
Yeah, unless it's positive angry like Imagine Dragons, then we're good.
Well, yes, of course, positive. I think we should message them and let them know that we've redefined their genre.
Positive angry
music.
That's awesome. I love it.
But I'm sure they'll totally be open to it.
I know and this is maybe because that we've been musicians for a good portion of our lives too, but music is always playing around me. And I notice when I get into a funk, and all of a sudden I come to a realization, it's like, oh man, it's been a couple of days, like 3 days since I played anything. What the heck? And then I turn it on. And there's even a part of my morning routine that I have that I started to get me set up for the day. And it's just, I have to have music playing because immediately when I get up, I'll eat, I'll work out, I'll shower, everything else. But as soon as I get down there, I'll turn on just the one Sonos in the kitchen while I'm cooking my eggs, whatever else, and put on some music right then and there just to set my mood for the day. And I feel that COVID too, I don't understand how people go all day without listening to music. It's just, it doesn't compute in my head. That's okay. But I think that, because depression is obviously way up with COVID and the pandemic, even domestic violence and a lot of other bad things are really up because of the lockdowns. And if there was more music in the world, man, and I feel that it's such a tragedy too, because that's one of the industries that has suffered so much through this. And it pains me because I missed the live shows. Oh my gosh.
I miss playing them.
I bet.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, even going to, where was I? Oh, it was at Disney World, just a couple weeks ago. And going in, and normally there's a restaurant called Raglan Road, which is a fantastic Irish restaurant. You got to have the Boren Burger if
Disney
you go.
World?
Yeah, it's actually in Disney Springs. And when I went in there, though, normally they have like the river dancers, and they're putting on their show and everything. This was a Sunday brunch, and they had a family, an Irish family that was up there playing live music. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize how much I missed this.
Yes.
And it was all Irish music. That was great. But just everything from a fiddle to a guitar to a banjo to, even the 10-year-old was like playing a side drum. It was just amazing.
That's awesome.
And I'm like,
very cool.
It was the best way to spend a Sunday brunch because it was just, the music set the atmosphere. And I hope that everybody listening can listen to Amy because maybe I'm putting words in her mouth. I don't know. But music really does set the atmosphere. And coming through COVID, I mean, what are some songs that have helped you, or maybe some things musically or creatively over the past several months that have helped you move through this? Because it's been tough, I know, for everybody, especially those in your industry.
It has been a huge hit for a lot of people, myself included. But it's also been a great time to take some space and reassess the things that are important, the things that I want to achieve, kind of reaffirm my why again, reaffirm the direction I want to go. I will say for me personally, I shifted to a lot of worship music this year. Actually, I really dove into my faith. I really dove in because, the reality is none of us really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a controller. And if I don't know what's going to happen, I will get in my head and spin around like crazy until I can try to figure it out or make sense of it. And then I just exhaust myself. So I leaned into a lot of worship music this year. I love Lauren Daigle and Hillsong and all of those as well. And then I also
Chris Tomlin lives right in Franklin, doesn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I also decided to give myself as an artist, on the artist perspective of things. And of course, I always have my motivational playlists. I have a lot of like girl what I call chick music. It's music, but I love a strong female artist. I love that, like, here we go, ladies, like we're getting it together, But I
like
also,
Pink, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love Pink. I love Pink. I love Kelly Clarkson. I love Demi Lovato. I mean, when I'm working out too, this is another thing. So I'll listen to books on tape, or I'll listen to like a lot of like hit you in your face, girl power, empowerment, self-love type stuff, because it helps me just to be like, okay, Amy, you can do another push-up. It's going to be okay. But as an artist, for like on the musical side of things, so when the pandemic the shutdown first happened, at least in Nashville, was back in March. I think it happened everywhere in March, honestly. It feels like forever ago. I don't know. I've lost track of time. But when that happened, I wrote 2 to 3 songs really quickly. And I'm not one of those people that presses writing a song a day. If you can do it, great. If you want to do it, amazing.
Who writes a song a day?
What
artists? What?
I tell you what, some songwriters will go out and do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has a different writing style and different technique. For me, I had to allow myself the time to 2 things. I had to allow myself the time to process whatever I was feeling, because at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of emotional ups and downs. I had to give myself some time to strategize and replan. So right at the beginning, I wrote a couple songs, and then I honestly didn't write any songs for the last couple months up until well, yesterday I wrote a song, and then 2-3 days before that I wrote a song, and now all the ideas are starting to come again. So I get lumps of ideas for songs all together that kind of come in these seasons.
Kind of like a download. It's just yeah.
It's just like it's like
you.
Here's an idea. But really kind of giving myself the freedom to not create if I didn't find myself in a position where I was capable of creating. And I think that's another thing that artists do is we put so much pressure on ourselves to be like, I got to write a song today, and I've got to get my recordings figured out today, and I've got to have everything aligned. No, you don't. There's literally nothing in the world that says you actually have to have everything aligned. Take some space. If you don't want to write a song, don't write a song. And then come back to it with a refreshed brain and write a song another day. Like I've stopped making things so black and white with my music and my discovery. And I will tell you that it makes life so much easier.
That's
stop
great.
putting this pressure on yourself to be X, Y, or Z. Just allow yourself to be what you're going to be.
That's awesome. Unless you're Chris Tomlin, right?
Well, of course. He's got so much pressure on him.
Oh, I know. It's I was at a session one time, David Crowder, and he was talking because he and Chris have been good friends for a long time. And he was talking about the creative process, exactly what you're talking about. And he found that he needed to remove that pressure that you're talking about too. Because he's like, Chris Tomlin, he goes, he'll say, you know what, 9 a.m. Tuesday, the 21st, I'm going to sit down and write the best worship song ever. And then out comes How Great Is Our God, or whatever it is. But that's how he works. But then Crowder, he's like, he's like, but I like to look around, and he's like, I'll see the trees, and I'll see the river, and I'll see the birds flying. He's like, so I really like to soak in what's going on. And I found out that if I don't put pressure on myself, I have these kinds of downloads that you're talking about right now. So where all of a sudden everything just comes at once. So if I don't pressure myself, but I just allow myself space to actually create and to take things in, then everything comes. And when it comes, it's amazing. I mean, he's a multiple Grammy winning artist too, so, but it's how his brain works. And I think that's a lot of creatives as well. So the pressure is just bad because I think anywhere in like business, whatever mindset, it's almost like forcing something to happen, isn't it? At a specific time. And creatively, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Oh, it's terrible. I have been in so many co-writing sessions, especially when I first moved to Nashville, because at that point I was still on my own journey of self-love and self-discovery. And when I first moved to Nashville, I'd already been touring for about a year or two, and was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to write country music. I sing kind of like my style used to be kind of a folk singer-songwriter that leaned a little country. My pop music could definitely lean country, but I'm not a country artist. I'm not a country writer. But I had this thought in my head, okay, I'm going to learn how to write about trucks and beer and like all this stuff. And after a while,
that's country music.
No, and the funny thing is it's really not. I should have said like the bro country. But when I first moved to Nashville, I was like, okay, I'm going to write all of this stuff. I'm going to learn how to do it. And I found myself in so many co-writes trying to write this like country song that sounded like things that you'd hear on the radio. And I hated every song that we wrote. And it's not that the songs were bad, just my heart wasn't into it. I didn't want to do it. I'd put this pressure on to be something or to write something that isn't authentically me. I know where my pocket is with songwriting. I know, what skills, and I can always branch out of that, but I can write a damn good pop song. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I just know that that's my skill level. And also same if you need like a little folky thing, like I'm good at that too, Americana, whatever you call it. But country, it's not my strong point, and that's okay. But I removed that pressure, and then I was able to kind of go into co-writes and not put an expectation of writing this type of song or that type of song, and just allowing that song to create itself.
That's all. Is that why you look back on your first albums or your first EPs the way that you do?
No, because I definitely didn't put any pressure on myself then. I just didn't know me as well then. And also my songwriting, you're going to continue. Well, I should rephrase this. Hopefully everyone who's an artist for the long haul will continue to grow and change and evolve and get better at their craft and get better at their writing and better at their instrumentation and all of those things. And that's just the difference, And I really like some of my older songs, but I would go back and rewrite them in a heartbeat. There were so many things that I can see looking back, going back to our conversation earlier, that I could change because it's just not relevant with the skills that I have now. But yeah, you definitely have to take the pressure off and just allow yourself to be open to developing those skills too. Because if you try to stay in just one little lane, you're never going to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about your song, Hold On. What?
Oh, I love that song.
What does it mean to you? What was your inspiration for that? And was there something you were going through in life at that time?
Absolutely. I was at the end of a 5-month tour, driving across country in my car. I do a lot of house concerts. I'm an independent musician, so I'll do a couple of venues here and there, but I get hired for music festivals and I play a lot of intimate house shows. And I've been doing that. Yeah, they've been amazing. And I've been doing that for, well, if you can count February of this year, I've been doing it for 7 years, but this year is really, I feel like it's just let's just erase 2020 in terms of the touring and music altogether. But yeah, anyway, I have 60 years of house concerts. And I tour about half the year with doing those. And they're great. They're fun, but they're also, when you're the only person in your car and you're the only person setting up your equipment and you're the only person selling your merchandise and you're the only person showing up, and it's amazing. You don't have to pay anybody, but you're still doing all of this work. And you lose a lot of your creativity in those moments too, because it's play a show, pack up the gear, it becomes your business. And as much as you love it, it's still work. And so you're enjoying, the hour or two of performance, which is amazing and riveting and connecting with people and having, those amazing conversations. But then the rest of and that's 2 hours out of 24 hours. And the rest of the time is like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to load up my car. I'm going to go to the next destination, spend another, 4, 6, 8 hours in the car, get to the next destination, get a hotel or stay with a friend or wherever, depending on what it is. And so you do that over and over and over and over again. And after a while, it gets really tiring and it can be very physically tiring. And I had a point, I want to say, when did I write Hold On? So Hold On came out in 2019. I probably wrote it in 2018. Then I was at the end of the tour, 2018, and I was just exhausted. And I was driving and I was on a long haul too. And I just had this thought that came to my head where I was like, okay, how much longer do I have left? And I think we all as artists kind of think that too. Like, how many more years do I really want to keep doing this? Do I want to do it at this level? And I was like, God, I don't know, how many more shows can I play? How many more homes and spare bedrooms and places can I sleep? And then I just had this thought that came to my head. I was like, hold on, don't give up. Good things are going to come. Just hold on, don't give up. Good things are going to come. And then I started developing the melody, like, hold on, good things are going to come. And I sang just that for probably 3 hours and I couldn't come up with anything else. And I was like, hold on. And then I was like, don't give up. Don't give up. And I was like, don't give up. And I made this little weird noise because, you're driving and you're just bored and you're just saying things. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. We should keep that in the song. So I went to my producers. So I had already booked my producers, Alpine Red Studios out of Virginia. And I already said, hey, we're going to do a new EP. And they were like, great. So I get into the studio and I was like, by the way, I haven't written this song yet, but I want it to be the title
Awesome.
And I want it to be on the album.
And I want this pop.
And I want this.
Yeah.
How do we add that in? And so the three of us, and then I brought in my friend from Nashville, Megan Farrell, who's a wonderful musician. And then so I brought her on board and she and I kind of wrote in Nashville while the guys were producing in Virginia. And then they came in and arranged the song. But the only thing I brought to them was, this is the melody, like, da 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 da. Don't give up. No, don't give up. And then the hold on the chorus is so easy. It's like, hold on, good things are gonna come. It's a whole chorus. And so I got with the two producers and my friend Megan. I was like, hey guys, that's all I got. In terms of lyrics.
And you're like, that's a damn good pop song right there. Yeah.
And that's a damn good pop song with no lyrics at all. I was like, I've got the chorus, I've got the melodies structured out, I've got the don't give up. And I was like, what else do you say? It's like such a happy song. And so the four of us got together and we really hashed out all the lyrics. And And it was a great writing experience, but I'm glad that we finished it in time for the album, because I definitely knew, you get those songs where, when you write, where you think, okay, that's definitely going to be the next single, or that's definitely going to be on the next project. So that's the story behind that song. It started with me just getting frustrated and overwhelmed and not knowing what to do. And it was that, no, hold on, just keep going, just push through, which is what I teach and coach anyway. So it's very fitting. And I actually just wrote a follow-up song to Hold On as well, that I haven't released at all. So it should hopefully be coming soon, because I wrote it like 3 days ago.
Very cool. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is on iTunes, right?
Hold On is on iTunes. Yes. Sweet. The new song is not. Yeah.
Everybody needs to go get this, because I think coming out of this year too, like you said, a lot of people just want to like burn 2020. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't, but I like to think that some pretty awesome things are going to take place for a lot of good people. But I also feel that going into this next year too, the outcome of 2021 is going to be determined by each individual person for their own lives. It doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter who your boss is. It doesn't matter who you're married to. What matters is really what you're going to make this coming year. So everyone just needs to hold on, don't they?
Everyone needs to hold on. Absolutely. That was a nice segue. I like that. But we have all been given an opportunity to reset right now. And actually, as an artist and now a mindset coach too, if I had been touring this entire year, I would never have been able to launch my mindset coaching business. It would have been just too much work, too much going on, too much stuff. And the forced slowdown from the COVID for me as an artist, yes, it was financially detrimental, especially since I had a whole year of shows and merchandising and stuff planned out. But it was also this huge blessing for me to sit back and realize, oh my gosh, I really am working a lot. Like, I really haven't spent any time with my family. I really haven't focused on my life outside of music or what I want that to look like, and all of those things. There's that, blessing in disguise type of thing. So I think it's an opportunity. Yes, it sucks. There's been a lot of suck this year, but there's also a lot of great things that can come out of it. And like you said, going into next year, it's really going to depend on the individual and what you choose to take advantage of and what you don't.
I love it. AmyGerhartz.com. Is that the best place for everyone to find you? Yeah.
AmyGerhartz.com. Yep. Awesome. I'm on there.
Instagram, Facebook, the same thing.
Instagram, all the things.
That's awesome. Yep. All the
Spotify,
things. iTunes, Spotify. I love it. I'm going to go get all your stuff.
Please.
Yes. It's so cool. It's so awesome. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much.
And
absolutely. And also, if anybody wants any of my older albums, they have been pulled offline, but I'll give them away for free. So you can just email me at info@amygerhartz.com, and you can download all the older stuff for free.
That's so cool. And make sure if you do that, if Amy sends you something too, make sure you go on Instagram or Facebook and tag her when you do this too. And tag 3 of your friends also. Yes, because we got to get the word out. Everyone needs to hold on, and Amy's going to help with that. Yeah. Sweet. Well, thanks for being on. I love this show.
You.
Yeah, thank you.
You so much for having me. I appreciate it.
What's shaking? Thank you for joining me on the All In Podcast. Click the subscribe button and smash that bell for notifications. Text me, 312-535-8520. Follow me on social media at Mr. Rick Jordan. See you next episode. I am Rick Jordan, and I approve this message.